Hey, folks, welcome back to the Be the Bright podcast presented by Ridge Supply. My name is Matt Hawkins. I'm the owner of Ridge Supply, and I'm with Jordan Spoon, who is the man behind the Instagram account for Ridge Supply Arsenal, which is our ambassador group. This is episode 9 of our video and audio podcast format. We're keeping these to 15 minutes or less. We are still answering questions from Arsenal members. We ask Arsenal members to ask us some questions to ask on air and answer live. I don't know what those questions are. Jordan's going to kick it to us. And this is episode number 9. Welcome, Jordan.
Glad to be back. We're slowly rolling along here. We got a question from Jake Howard Potter. Actually, I find this to be a really good question because this is it's kind of falls into how you got me onto a trail donkey and some other stuff. But you have a knack for supporting, collaborating, and partnering with other awesome brands. He uses Rodeo and Hand Up as an example. Why and how do you do this? And he said, please do not stop.
Well, thank you for that question, Jake. For those that don't know, I met Jake at the Buck 50 the first year, and he already was a Rodeo Labs guy, had a trail donkey or a Flanimal, I can't remember. I think he had a trail donkey. And he came out, he was out of New York at the time, and we've kept in touch over the last couple of years. Come to find out, we're in the same fraternity. We went to rival schools up in upstate New York at the same time. I think we're the same age, know a lot of the same people. It's kind of crazy. So we got a lot in common. Thank you, Jake, for this question. Jake is a super talented sculptor and metal worker, and he does like giant art installations that are just baller. A lot of figure sculptures, and he does some stuff that's incredible. So. This is a big question. I think I will start back like how it started for Ridge Supply is that when I first started, I had only been doing it for a couple of weeks. One of my friends from home, I had been noticing over the last couple of years since I had left. I left Virginia in 2005 and started Ridge Supply in 2015. So I had been gone for 10 years. And I'd been following the scene all along. And a couple of the guys were on this team that had a jersey that said Cutaway. And I didn't know what Cutaway was, or really what is it, a brand? Is it a sponsor? I didn't know. So I reached out and I asked him, I was like, what's the deal with Cutaway? And he said, Cutaway's awesome. I ride bikes with him all the time. He's got his own clothing brand, and he's cool. So I said, okay, cool. Like, I'm actually coming up to Virginia, with my family, and I'd like to meet him, and I was just super excited. Well, we set up a bike ride, and me and Philip from Cutaway and the other gentleman is Mark King, who's Ben King's dad, and we all got together and we went for a ride. Well, when I went to meet Philip and I saw that he was also like kind of like a sole proprietor, like a one-man show, kind of doing the thing on his own, and I saw kind of behind the curtain, like peeled the onion back a little bit about like how he was doing it. I was like, whoa. I was like, okay. Like maybe this can be a business. Maybe even just a guy like me who's only got one sock. And I literally, there's this picture. I have them. I had what was left of my socks in a Panera bag. I had like a Panera bag from driving up there, and I had, 15 pair or something, whatever I had left of the very first batch. That's how early days this was. And I didn't have a brand, I just had a couple socks at this point. But I met Philip. And Worlds was coming up in a few months in Richmond, and he was like, hey man, he's like, if you want to come to Richmond and hang out and like maybe sell some of your stuff in a store, I'm doing a pop-up store there. And I was like, sweet, that'd be cool. And so that's how that partnership started. I hadn't made kit yet. I knew I was going to, but I just got to know him. And we did do Worlds together, which was awesome. And then we actually ended up going to Asheville and doing a cross nationals there a couple months later, and which was phenomenal. And then we even did road nationals that next summer. We just doing these events together and getting to know him was awesome. And when you get to know people that are doing kind of like what I was doing, which is kind of doing it all themselves, everyone's so different, and everyone's got different skills and different, perspectives, personalities, whatever. But we all we all love bikes, and we all loved kind of producing stuff. And so that is how that started for me. And the partnership was so successful because at the time, like on Instagram, for instance, I was gaining followers, and it seemed like if you got another 10 followers that you know what I mean? Like you just won an Oscar, like that's how
you unlock the next level of growing.
And, you had 400 followers and you had 500, just like it was awesome. But it was so cool to sort of have a peer to reach out to and discuss. And we've grown together. It's been really cool. Like we work together all the time. We talk together all the time. And then we also like don't step on each other's turf, and that's been really cool. And then what I found was when I wanted to do t-shirts, or I wanted to do hats, or I wanted to do whatever, the first person I'd ask would be Philip. I'd be like, hey, where do you get your shirts done or whatever? But then when it became something that maybe he couldn't do and we couldn't do together, I had to go find the next people that were good at whatever the thing was. And as your brand is growing, if you do it like I did it, where it's like you're not advertising, you're doing it off of Instagram, it's kind of off of word of mouth. Anytime you can partner with someone else who's doing something well already, you're only going to magnify your exposure, So that's how that worked. I mean, Hand Up does great gloves. They were willing to let me do gloves. I had to buy a ton of them, which nobody was really doing at the time, but I did. I went in big. That worked. That's been a cool concept. And as they've grown, they're doing socks and stuff now. And like, I mean, the reality is like, we're all chasing the same people in a way. And it's fine. But I also like, I'm really, dedicated to what it is that we do, the brand aesthetic we do and the design that we do. And I look for other people who can partner with me on that. Like when we did the bike with Rodeo, I reached out to a bunch of people, and I reached out to Specialized. Crickets, nothing. And I reached out to some other tie brands that, can do really custom cool stuff. But, one of the problems with tie is like, it's not a really great paint format. And so there's not a lot of color there. And then I finally got in touch with Steven. And when I talked to Steven on the phone, he was so excited to actually do something with me, and not knowing me, that I was like, okay, this is a fit. And then we had a journey to make those bikes that was arduous for him and for me. We did 4 of them in the beginning, and then they sold another, I think 10 or 15 after that. But like, it was a challenge. But through that, we became friends, and we became, buddies and peers and all that stuff. And to watch them grow, we've done events with them as well, have been great. And then there's other sort of collaborations that maybe we haven't made a product with, but we're really good friends with the people that do the brand. And I think it's important for us to stay together. I think what people forget, people think Ridge Supply is like some people think it's this big company that's got like a corporate office and a bunch of people doing these things. And,
we're looking at it right now.
Yeah, your team and all this other stuff. And the reality is, if you're small and you're doing it yourself and you're paying for it yourself, you can't always make a product and private label it.
Yeah.
And, like people are like, what, like the other questions from the other day, like, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Well, I mean, I could do pretty much anything, but the time, energy, and research and resources that it takes to
Yeah.
make a product come to life are way greater than what people
Yeah.
realize. And so
And when you get into the manufacturing of stuff
Yes.
and stuff like that's a whole different world.
Yeah. And I do say that those small folks like myself that have done well, but then also need all the help they can get. Finding other people that just to commiserate with and to hold firm I think is good. When you're up against companies that everybody knows, part of the reason everybody knows them is because there's a ton of money behind the marketing effort. And our marketing effort is almost all grassroots, and which makes it super cool. Like when you look at the followers, it's a great example. Like I look at brands and the amount of followers they have. Almost always that doesn't translate to dollars or business, and I'm proud to say like we have more customers than we have followers, which is pretty cool. And I look forward to working with other brands as well that will help grow the portfolio of what we can offer, but that they do it better than we do. And we can just pop our brand aesthetic on there and keep rolling with it. So thank you, Jake, for that question. Look
Hey,
forward
I
to
even
riding with you
learned
soon.
something with that. I didn't know the story behind you meeting Philip and how you met Philip. So I even learned a little bit.
Some people think Philip and I are like, the same company or something. It's not that. We just work together all the time. We're friends. We bounce ideas off of each other. He's way more talented than I am, and been doing it longer too. So I rely on him for guidance on things and vice versa. And we do really well together. And I don't want to mess that up. Like I could do my own kit, but I don't want to. I like doing it with him, and it works really well. And we've got something there that just works. So I'm not going to mess it up.
Awesome. Well, hopefully that answered Jake's question and
Jake
explained a little why and how. And
if you want to follow Jake is a Steel Statue on Instagram, and he his art stuff's amazing, and he's an inspiration. Also fraternity brother. So we can get into that a whole a secret episode at some point. But episode 8.
Done.
Be the Bright podcast. If you want to subscribe to the YouTube channel, it's down here for Ridge Supplies channel, or the next episode will be over here. If you're on Spotify, go ahead and bookmark us, or on Anchor as well. And Jordan, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Let's go for 10. Let's get number 10 started.
Almost there.
All right.